everyone, my name's Emma Wold and I am Head of Media Studies. So there's quite a lot of skills that you learn when you're doing media studies. There's lots of critical thinking and analysis and lots of different research and planning, which you all then apply to practical skills that you're going to cover. We look at a lot of exploring how images and words and sounds help to create different representations and meanings within a media text. And we also explore sort of the industry side of media, and so how the business sort of works, and looking at a lot of sort of age regulations and sort of the standards that the media has to kind of uphold itself to. So there's quite a lot of different sort of skills and knowledge base that that we explore and that you can take on into the future. Well, there's lots actually. I mean, the first thing obviously to think about is when you're doing obviously GCSE media studies, the instant thing that you think about obviously is going on to study it at A level, which you can. There are also quite a lot of different sort of BTEC courses that you can do, which actually hone into sort of some specific areas of sort of TV production, or you can go obviously towards obviously journalism. So you can kind of hone in a little bit into sort of specifics. And then that obviously could take you obviously on to, if you wanted to go to university where there's other media courses, also communication, cultural studies, so those are the areas that you could go. But otherwise it's also the careers. So, you know, in the careers it's vast because it's such a big expanding industry. So you can go, as I said, like into TV and film sort of production, but you've got web design, different things obviously with computing that you can go into, with sort of looking at video games. So there's quite a lot of different areas, and even obviously that journalism that you can go down. So obviously, you know, which hones in a bit more of those English skills at the same time. So quite a large area. So we've got quite a few students obviously at the minute that are already at college, and then there's some others which have gone on and they've taken it obviously in different ways as well. So we've got quite a lot of vloggers that are doing different things. They've got their different kind of areas up on their sort of YouTube channel. We've got different ones that are working in radio, which is also another avenue which isn't necessarily explored as much sort of nowadays, because it is one of the older sort of industries, which we do actually explore on the course as well. So it's nice to see them sort of branching out into their own sort of routes. So the way that media studies is assessed and examined is through three components. So there's two components which are exam-based, components 1 and components 2. And then component 3 is the NEA, which is a non-examination assessment, which is basically coursework. So for the first exam, we look at quite a wide range of different media texts. So we look at magazine front covers, we look at film promotion, both print, so posters and online, and we concentrate on Spectre, James Bond Spectre. We also look at magazine adverts, we look at radio, and we look at newspapers, print and online, and then we also study video games as well, and the focus for study at the moment is Fortnite. So that's all quite interesting, big range. And we're looking a lot there at how all these texts are put together, how they represent people and places, and in particular how they target audiences, so how they're trying to draw in and engage their audiences. And then there's component 2, which is probably was my favourite out of the two papers. So component 2 is split into two sections. And in the first section, we study TV programmes, and our aim of focus is sitcoms. So we get to explore how Friends and the IT crowd engage their audiences and how they're sort of put together, how characters are represented and the places, which is really interesting. And then the second part of that exam paper is looking at the promotion of music. And we look at several music artists, and we look at how they produce music videos and how they're then promoted online through websites and their social media. And our focus, we look at Katy Perry, Bruno Mars, and then we have to look at historical text, and we look at Duran Duran, which is very exciting. And then we move to component 3, which is the coursework, which is where you really get kind of hands-on and have to make products. And this is kind of a lovely part of the course, obviously, for students. And so for this one, you're given a brief by the exam board, and we get to choose which brief we would like to work with. We usually choose the music videos, or we choose the film promotion. The current Year 11s, for example, are looking at film promotion, and they've had to research how thrillers are sort of put together, and then look at how they're marketed through DVD covers and film posters, and they've just created their own idea for a thriller film, and they're just about to design their own poster and DVD cover for that. We're going to be continuing that on with the current year 10s, but we just don't know what their film type genre is going to be just yet. So we'll probably be continuing that on again next year. When students come to the to media studies, obviously they choose it as an option, and they haven't really studied media before. So at the beginning of the course, so this is just to make sure that everyone doesn't feel daunted because they haven't obviously experienced it before. We do from when they start in September up to the October half term, we do a crash course in the introduction to media. So it's really getting to look at those key basic skills, how you unpick an image, how you start to engage an audience before we even start to look at the exam content after the October half term in year 10. When you're trying to make a decision, obviously, whether you would like to do media studies, I think it's worth sort of considering the fact that you live in a media world, and the media is all around you, and that's obviously what you're growing up with. That's what you're influenced by. And what I do find also when it comes to students taking the subject, they always say, there is, of course, there's a lot of work to put in, there's a lot of theory and things and that to learn, but there's also that sort of, because there is that practical aspect as well, and because it's relevant in your life and at the moment, that it's actually be quite sort of relaxing and engaging and sort of fun and sort of easier, in that sense with, trying to kind of like lose yourself sort of in that moment. And so it's not kind of like as hard sort of hitting all the time.